What's going on, guys? Hey, listen, today I am working on a 2011 F150 with a crank no start situation. But I think it's a common issue on these from like 09 to 14 has this issue right here. So if you have an F150 with the 5-liter Coyote motor, y'all need to check this out. All right, so I'm gonna give it a start. And as you can tell, our tachometer is moving, which means that we are registering for the crank sensor. Which probably means that we are okay on the ignition side of this whole debacle. Okay, so I've got my scanner hooked up. We're just gonna see what's going on here. I'm going ahead and we're going to illuminate all of the fuel pump portions of the scanner. Let's see if we can go to OK. And immediately we show that, of course, the fuel pump is off because it's not running. It shows that we have an error on the fuel pump circuit. So let's crank it and see if that changes. Somewhere our fuel pump has a fault, whether it be a relay or maybe a corroded wire to the pump, could be anything. But I'm gonna go straight to the issue on this truck, and like I said, this is a very common issue for this series of, like I said, 09 to 14-ish F150s. One of the most common issue with a crank no start on one of these trucks is fuse number 27. If you will look right underneath here, pop this fuse panel up, and if we look, number 27 is right here, which is the 20 amp fuel pump relay fuel pump fuse. And let me get a closer view of that, if it will focus for me. As you can tell, that fuse, we've got a little bit of looks like we got a little burnage right here. So let's pull this number 27 fuse out of here and see what it looks like. Oh wow, yeah, check that out. The whole end of that, the whole one side of that fuse is just completely burned off. So guess what? That means that down in here, that terminal is probably going to be overheated and crispy as a Rice Krispie treat. I'm telling you what. Could you shove a new fuse in there? Maybe, and get by with it for a little while until it got hot and melted another fuse, and you keep repeating that process over and over, and you're going to end up melting out where that fuse goes. However, Ford has a fix for this, to where it relocates this little puny 20 amp to the number 70 slot right here, which is going to have the more robust 20 amp square fuse. And guys, I'm going to show you how to perform this task. It's not going to be, you know, super easy, but it's not so much that the average professional homeowner couldn't perform this. So let's go ahead. First thing we got to do, disconnect the battery, and we're going to have to remove this fuse block up out of the way so that we can get to underneath where this number 27 fuse actually goes. battery's disconnected. Now we can loosen up the power to the distribution block here. That dude was just barely finger tight. And just lift your wires up out of there. We'll give these a good cleaning before we put it back on there. Now around this block is going to be a couple of tabs that you're going to have to pull back, and this whole block will just slide up off of these posts. There's 1, 2, and a couple back here. So let's go ahead and get those slid up off of those posts. Where this main wire loom hooks to this box. Now it's inevitable you're probably going to break this little piece of plastic that holds that on there, but that's sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Just carefully pry this up, and if you do break it off, it's not the end of the world. You can just zip tie that little dude right back on there. Ha! I got lucky and didn't break that one. We can reuse that one, no problem. So now we need to just get our box to where we can pretty much flip that dude over. Alright, so we got this back far enough to where we can get to the wires on here. Now this number 27 fuse is this number, it's a 3.0 wire, or it's what they call it. It's the blue and with the red stripe right here. And what Ford says to do is to basically go up in here and just snip this wire off. You're going to completely snip it off from the terminal block up here. So that's what we're going to do next, and then we'll have enough wire out here to make our repair. Alright, so now we've got the wire pulled out here where we can work on it. Don't be pulling on too much stuff. You don't want to knock anything loose under there. So we're going to strip that back about a ½ inch. Here is the kit from Ford itself. I wouldn't go any other way than OEM on this little kit. The part number is EL3Z-14293-A, and I'll put links in the description where you can get a hold of one of these kits yourself. And let's get this going, get this back to the customer ASAP. So what this kit includes is a pigtail to relocate that mini fuse to the more robust, even though this is still a 20 amp, and it comes with another slide terminal that we're going to slide up in to the number 70 slot, to where now we have a whole lot more surface area to make contact for our fuel pump circuit fuse. To make this repair, I'm just going to use one of my shrink and solder connections. Really neat. I did a video on these before. You slide your wires up in here. It's got a ring of solder, and once you start heating this up with your heat gun, it bloop makes that solder fall into the wires, and it just makes a good solid connection, waterproof connection. And then when we're done, we'll slide the Ford supplied heat shrink tubing over that. now we've got our repair made. We're just going to lightly tuck it to where it's not pinching, and then we're going to take our connector and we're going to slide it up underneath to this number 70 slot, and once you hear it click in, then you know you're good to go. There it went, barely faint, but it did click in. Just like that. It looks good. Put our battery cable back on. And then lastly, we'll hook up our new 20 amp fuse, and then on the inside of the box here you'll want to put this sticker so that the next mechanic will know that this conversion has been done. Just gonna lay it right in the bottom here. You see that? Fuse 70. Alright, so if we were successful, it should fire right up. Now the instructions say the wire that you snipped off under there, you're going to have, you know, some sticking down, and it says to put a piece of heat shrink on that and basically just cap it off. I didn't do that. I just went ahead and went up in there with my pliers farther and I snipped it off flush with the bottom of the box. Not going to hurt nothing. It's to each his own. If you want to put the heat shrink on there, you can. The fuse relocated to a more robust, I keep wanting to say a stronger fuse, but it's not a stronger fuse. It's just a 20 amp. But the surface area where that fuse plugs down in is our issue. It's creating heat, you know, and because of a bad connection, because the fuse is so small and it's got a pretty big wire going to it. It's, you know, it uses quite a bit. It's more amperage than you think. It's not enough amperage to pop that little bitty fuse. But anyway, hey, we got this little F150 going one more time, and if this content helped you out,
give me a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button. And while you're there doing that, go ahead and click that heart and click that bell so that you get all of my new videos. Y'all have a good rest of your weekend. More medical